Hello and welcome. I'm Bill Weidacher. I'm a past president of the New Hampshire Association of Realtors, and I've been asked today by the Riverwoods Group communities to bring you up to speed on what's going on with the real estate market here in New Hampshire, and it's my pleasure to give you a brief overview and let you know a little bit about it. I'm an active real estate broker. I'm the operating partner at Keller Williams Metropolitan in New Hampshire. And I'm going to give you a brief PowerPoint because I think it's the best way graphically to give you some information. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Just bear with me here while we do this. And we hope everything will work. First of all, as I said, I'm Bill Weidacher, and I'm going to just take you through our PowerPoint today. So our program is going to talk a little bit about the Realtor organization and how we are able to offer representation. We're going to talk about the market and its history and what the current conditions are, what affordability looks like, whether or not we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market at this time, of course, what the home buying and selling process looks like, and then lastly, we'll cover some projects that you might be able to tackle and getting ready to have your house prepared for the market and staging the property. So first and foremost, Realtors are members of a national association, and we adhere to a strict code of ethics. And of course, we can represent you as the seller. A buyer agency is also available, or we can represent the buyer. Or in some cases, we can represent both parties. All of this is required disclosure, and that's required by state law. So we can offer a full representation to you as the buyer and the seller. Let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, and that's the coronavirus and COVID-19 and what kind of an impact we see there on the market. So first of all, inventory had been high 6 or 7 years ago when we were going through the financial crisis, and much of that inventory has now been bought up, and we're at the lowest in more than 10 years, and in some cases, it's the lowest I've seen in my 37 years in the business. So it is quite incredible that we went from a bulk of inventory in 2011, 2010 to now, unprecedented lows. In 2019, our prices were at a historic high, climbing steadily over the last 7 years, as you'll see in some of the graphics I'm about to show you. And then I also want to tell you that interest rates are still very low. We're seeing fixed rates in the low threes. In some cases, they dipped even into the high twos. But you can be assured that you can find an interest rate with a 3 in it as the first number these days. This will give you a little bit of an idea of what we looked at over the last year and what those increases have looked like. So statewide, you can see that we were up 6% from 2017 to 2018, and that same sort of market has taken place in 2019. And this gives you a real good idea of what the numbers look like here. And then this gives you some historical perspective. Now, this graph is one of my favorites. The New Hampshire Association of Realtors prepared this for us, and you can see that in 1998, the average sale price of a home was $127,500. And by the time 2005 came around, that same average sale price was now $270,000, a 112% increase over the 1998 number. If you look year to year to year, you can see double-digit appreciation numbers in most years. I am here to tell you, my friends, that those numbers are not sustainable in the long term. A 112% increase in 7 years' time is just not sustainable. We continue on, and you can see in 2006, there's a little bit of a change in units, and the price is off just under 2% to 265,000. But then watch what happens. Units decrease another 10 points, 2008 another 15 points, and then you start to see prices slide and slide rapidly. So from 2006 to 2011, in that 5-year period, prices dropped 25%. And then this gives you an idea of what the climb out was, part three, what we call the recovery. And you can see that the climb out has been a little bit more modest. The interesting thing about 2013, and you see that was a 8.9% increase. Oftentimes when markets bottom, they bottom below where value is. They have to hit some sort of bottom. And only by looking back can we tell, oh my goodness, prices are a bargain. And you notice in 2013, units were up 10% and pricing was up almost 9%. So we were clearly then and felt quite confident that we'd reached bottom. And you can see now from 2012 to 2019, there's been a steady increase all the way back to 300,000, as we mentioned before. So we're now at $300,000 average sale price, and you'll see in a minute when we talk about some of the April numbers. We're now again at record high average sale price 1 month of April compared to April last year. So it's very, very fascinating to see this in light of the fact that inventory is low because of the coronavirus, that prices are still holding fairly well. Here's an interesting graph to look at. This is what actually happened with residential home sales in terms of price in the years 2007, 8, and 9. If you're looking at that graph, you're going, oh my goodness, this is not good. This is what that same period of time looks like when you look at it over time, from 1998 to 2019. The two arrows there show you that graphic of those 3 years right here and what it looked like as we look in a much more pragmatic way to the market in general. What we know is this, is that real estate is a long-term play. It's a long-term holding. And if you take a long-term approach, it's a sound investment. There's no doubt about it. It really is all about the fundamentals. And so if you've owned your property since the late 1990s, you remember what you paid for it then. And if it was an average price, it was $127.5. And now that same property is, if it was average sale price then, it would be in the low threes, $325,000 today. So a long-term play brings about a very good, sound, fundamental investment for you. Chief economist for the National Association of Realtors says this. Lawrence Yun says, you have to understand the facts. The housing market was exceptionally strong, and we hit the pause button and that it will recover. He's speaking about the effect of COVID-19 on the real estate market nationally. And I believe he's correct nationally, and I believe he's also correct for the state of New Hampshire. Here's what a contraction in the housing market in 2008, and then the forecast was a modest change in 2019 and 20. I think it's important to know that these forecasts really are really just anybody's guess right now, because we really have to take a full long-term pragmatic look at what COVID-19 does and how it reacts and how we react to it. So I think it's going to be anybody's guess if we have another round where the pandemic takes an unforeseen turn, where we may have to throw these projections out the window. But it also has to do with where we see ourselves in terms of coming out of this. If we have a strong, immediate, V-shaped comeback, then perhaps these projections are low. We're just going to have to see. I refer to this as it really comes down to what is the market of the moment. House prices just gives you a little bit of an idea. We're expecting a bit slower growth. We might actually see a little bit of a drop in pricing this year. It's hard to know again, and that's why if you're thinking about selling, that you consult with us in the moment, because we can tell you what your home is worth at that time and not what it's going to be worth in the future. No one really will know. At the end of last year, it looked like 2020 could be a breakout year based on the fundamentals, and we know that has changed now because of the coronavirus and the fact that there's been a loss of jobs, and there's some anxiety certainly around the selling process. We are off about 40% in the state in terms of where we would be with active listings this time of year. So almost half of the listings are not on the market. We know that with the bit of uncertainty out there, there's also a bit of an inclination for people to want to stay put, try to figure it all out. And of course, we've had the stay-at-home order that came into effect on the 27th of March, and real estate professionals were deemed an essential business. We did have conditions, which I'll elaborate. Couldn't have meetings in real estate offices, of course, showings by appointment only. And when those showings took place, we needed to employ social distancing measures. We could close on properties, which was very good news when the original stay-at-home order happened. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of home sellers and home buyers who were scheduled to move, who were saying, "Oh my, how do we do this? How do we do it if we're deemed non-essential?" The governor reversed course in a couple of days and allowed for the business to be deemed essential, which allowed for closings to take place and inspections, appraisals, and so forth. One important note is that open houses are not permitted under the current orders by the governor. And I think it makes sense because there's really no way to establish good social distancing or crowd control measures at open houses, because by the sheer popularity of some property, you could have large crowds of people showing up to see the property. So open houses for now are not permitted, and we don't have any clear direction when and if they'll be brought back into play. We know that this market has persisted because we have seen, as you'll see some numbers here, once we define what our business practices were going to be, many people still want to buy and still want to sell. And sales have declined a bit, but really not to the extent that some people thought. I've had people approach me thinking that the bottom had completely fallen out of the market, and that is just not the case. Prices are actually up. Here's some interesting numbers. The sales data that we just came out with yesterday in the beginning of May here are the April numbers. And so you can see that sales were down 10%, but prices statewide increased 11.5%. So units down 10%, prices up 11.5%. And the median sales price for April of 2020 compared to 2019 was a record. We were at 325,000. As long as we've been keeping track, that's the highest median sales price we've seen. This next point is really important to note for property owners considering selling. Offers on properties, buyers that are buying properties are outstripping listings 1.5 to 1. What that means is for every listing that comes on the market, 1.5 properties go off the market with a deposit and under contract. So for every 2 properties that come on, 3 go off the market. You can see that is going to have a long-term effect on supply. And when you have supply drop like that and demand stay relatively strong, it does have an effect on prices. Homes are coming off the market faster than going on. We started the year with relatively low inventory, and now we know it's getting even lower, which bodes well again for property owners. Every month, we produce a report through the New Hampshire Association of Realtors. It gives you an idea of many, many statistical data points that we're looking at, from closed sales to median sales prices, what the volume is in terms of millions. We look at days on market. We look at what pending sales look like, month supply. We're really paying attention to lots of this information. Here's what I'm going to tell you about this data. Here's just an idea of what the reports look like. All of this information is very, very detailed. And we go into this information with every single homeowner when they're considering putting their home on the market, because that's when it's the most relevant. So are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? I think you know that answer. Inventory is the primary driver, and inventory is low. The seller's market, there's fewer homes on the market. Sales are happening pretty quickly. Seeing multiple offers. And in multiple offers, you just have buyers that are more likely to offer a higher price right from the beginning because of that kind of scenario. It's almost like an auction. In a buyer's market, inventories start to increase. This is something I always keep track of because I want to know if inventory is increasing and edging its way up, we might see a shift where it might go to a buyer's market or a what I'm going to call a neutral market. Buyers in a buyer's market have greater selection, and sellers may be forced to offer some incentives to produce an offer on their property. For buyers, here's the message. Pick your spots. We know that prices are increasing, but there's still really good buying opportunities out there. The interest rates are low, as I said before, and we know that while properties are not easy to find, it's a good time to have a professional assisting you in this process. For sellers, take advantage. Prices are historically high. Inventory is historically low. You're seeing more multiple offer situations. You really do have the leverage. When's the best time to sell? Well, typically it's the spring. And this is spring. And it's spring with a twist, obviously. And so you have to take into account those things that are important to you. And if this coronavirus is an issue for you, you need to talk to your professionals, including real estate agents, and to try to get a sense as to what the best decision is for you. And it really all comes down to what you want to do. For sellers, it's this. Choose a realtor now, even if you're not ready to put the home on the market. Get a sense of what the home value is. Inspect the property with a professional, and then prepare and stage the property. So now is a good time, even if you're not going to be putting your house on the market right away. It's a good time to kind of look at some of the things that can get you ready. So if you decide to change your mind, you've done this work. We often counsel our clients to the exterior of the house is the first thing that the buyers see. So getting things cleaned up and prepped around your front door, pressure washing your roof, getting a little bit of a depersonalization of the exterior is also important. If you've got lots of things that might be over-personalized, it's good to simplify a little bit on the exterior as well as the interior, and we'll talk about that. Check your driveway and sidewalk for bumps and cracks, and keep in mind, this isn't just about how things look aesthetically. It could also be a safety matter, and you don't want somebody tripping as being the first memory of the house they look at on their way into the front door. People oftentimes, I say this, people judge what they can't see based on what they can see. And if they can see all kinds of things that need work before they even get inside, subconsciously they're thinking, wow, this is going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of work. We also counsel people to open up the curtains and blinds. In some cases, we may tell you to remove the curtains and blinds. Foul odors in a house, pet smells, things of that nature never help you. And it's important to neutralize those so that the house smells fresh. Pulling together paperwork on your appliances and so forth, warranties, that kind of thing, that's always good to have because we may need it at some point if the buyers want to know age or a condition or anything relating to the appliances. It's good to have all that together. Cleaning out the garage and basement, unfinished surfaces. Oftentimes, just having things neat and in order help a lot. Closets, drawers. And then I would also just ask you to look up your address online. It's important to make sure that your address online, just see if there's anything there that you might be surprised. And so Google your address just to make sure that there's no surprises there about your property. The national forecast is this. You can see that we tell that 2020 we're going to see negative job gains or job losses. See, based on the National Association of Realtors numbers, that's going to be a rebound in 2021. They're forecasting that we start to work our way out of it, and that home prices really this year are probably going to be flat by the time we get to year end, and that next year there'll be a little bit of a rebound. But keep in mind, these are just projections because we just don't know how things are going to progress with COVID-19. Home sales, you get a sense of what we think we're going to see with unit numbers, 5 to 10% less, and then again a rebound in 2021. Is now a good time to sell? And I believe that it is. I believe that it's a very good time to sell if you're a property owner, because if you're looking to move this year, you at least know what you're going to sell for right now. Hard to know where things are going to be at the end of this year, or hard to know where things are going to be next year. We only know what the forecasts are, and it's really hard to pinpoint because so much depends on what type of recovery we see. I want to let you know if you have questions. I would just want you to reach out to me. Again, my name is Bill Weidacher. I'm the operating partner at Keller Williams, and your contact information is going to be made available to you here. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I just want to also remind you that this is an ongoing series given to you by the Riverwoods Group communities, and stay tuned for future episodes. We're really looking forward to serving you. Thank you.